Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing my October 2022 wrap up. I'm going to be doing this in two parts because I read and watched so much stuff in October. I just wanted to split this into two separate videos. So this part is going to be about the books and part two, which hopefully will come out on the same day as this one, but it might be a day or two behind it. That will all be about the things that I've watched, the movies and TV shows and everything else. October was a really good reading month for me, and I read so much and watched a lot as well, and it was just a great time. It really was. I read a lot of great stuff, and yeah, I'm just gonna go through them and share them with you guys. If I have any videos on any of these specific books, I will have the thumbnail up here about the video, and I'll have a link to that video down below. So the first thing that I read was a coffee table type of book called The Little Book of Horrors. Now this is a non-fiction book based around facts around the Halloween season or the spooky season. This isn't a storybook, this is a book about facts. This is, as I said, a coffee table type of book. On the cover it says that it's for Halloween and beyond, but because 90% of the content in this book revolves around the Halloween period, if you read this outside of October, then it will kind of be a bit weird. But if that's your thing, then that's your thing. But this was a real entertaining read, and I have got a video on this. As I said, it will be linked down below. But I rated this book a 4 stars out of 5. Really, really entertaining read. The next one I got, as these are in the same collection, is The Little Book of H.P. Lovecraft. I haven't done a video on this because, quite frankly, this is pretty much about 85% of this book is quotes from the author, from his work, or by other people, saying stuff about him. And the other 15% is facts about his life. I thought that this would kickstart my journey to read more of H.P. Lovecraft's work, because next year I want to get on that. But instead of it giving me a kick up the arse saying, come on, get a move on, David, it kind of gave me just a gentle nudge. So yeah, but it was okay. It was alright. I was just expecting a lot more than what I got. Still a fun read though. So I rated this a 3.5 stars out of 5. Sorry guys, I'm just looking at my list. If you see me looking down, I'm just looking at this. And I've also picked up another book from the Little Book series, and that is for Edgar Allan Poe. I will be opening this and cracking this open sometime this year, so super excited to get into this. Next I read which was the only grim fairy tale that I read last month, and that was called The Owl. This revolves around an owl obviously going into a dark barn, and these people go in there and perceive it to be a monster because it's dark and they can't see it properly, and they think that it's a monster instead of a harmless owl. I've done a video on this for my Grim Tuesday series, so it will be linked down below in case you're interested. But I rated that a 3 stars out of 5. Next I read was In the Miso Soup. This is a Japanese horror book where a American tourist called Frank, pretty sure that's what his name is, goes over to Tokyo, and there's this guide which specializes in guiding people around the adult industry, the sex industry of Tokyo, all the back streets, all the sex clubs, pretty much what really goes bumping at night, where all the action is. And it's told from the perspective of the tour guide, and we find out that there's all these mysterious murders that are happening where all these women are being found decapitated and chopped up. And it's implied that the American tourist did it, but we find out that he has got a very, very violent side to him. He's not what he appears to be. and it's a thriller slash horror book, but I really enjoyed it. Haven't done a video on this because I left it way too late after I read it, so I just wanted to probably reread it again sometime, probably next year, so it's fresh in my mind, so I give you guys my freshest thoughts about it. But I rated that one a 3 stars out of 5. Next was the graphic novel called My Friend Dahmer, which revolves around the real life serial killer Jeff Dahmer when he was in high school. And the author tells it from his point of view, and he inserts himself into the narrative, and we find a little bit about what Jeff did as a teenager, and it doesn't really give any answers about what he actually did or why he did the things that he did, and it doesn't delve into his mind or try to understand him. He was a very, very unstable individual even back then. But if you're interested in reading more about Dahmer, then I would highly recommend it, purely because of the Dahmer series on Netflix. That's the reason why I picked it up. But I've done a whole video on it where I expressed the fact that I wasn't glorifying Dahmer in any way, and I'll show my respect to the victims. So I rated this one a 4 stars out of 5. If you're into serial killers or true crime or as I said, the Netflix series, then I would recommend it. Next I read was Stein Tinglers by R.L. Stein. This is his most recent short story collection. Don't really need to really explain who R.L. Stein is. If you don't know him or have no idea who I'm talking about, he's pretty much the master of children's horror or young people's horror stories. If you've picked up any Goosebumps books, any Fear Street, any point horror book, then there's a high possibility that you have read some of his work. I've done a video on Stein Tinglers, and it was an interesting read. It wasn't the most outstanding thing that I've ever read or the most mind-blowing thing that I'm ever going to read, but it was an entertaining read. So I rated that one a 4 stars out of 5. Hi guys, I was editing this video and I knew I forgot something. I knew I forgot to mention something, and that was Dracula by Bram Stoker, which I read in October. Not sure how I managed to miss this one when I was talking about this, when I was doing this video. But yeah, last month in October, I read Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I won't go into the ins and outs of it in this video, or in this clip rather, because if you want to know my full opinions, then you can watch my video on it. But it was okay. It wasn't the best, it wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it wasn't the worst ever. But it was an interesting look about how vampires became cool back when this novel was written. I did this as a buddy reads with Marissa Bailey. Please check her out. She is awesome, and also please check out her video on Dracula as well. And I rated Dracula a 3 stars out of 5. So yeah, sorry guys I didn't mention it in my previous video, but yeah, let's just go back to the video now. Next I read was The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. I've done a video on this, and this was the first ever Ray Bradbury book that I have ever read. I've got Fahrenheit 451 or 451, or as I said, how the hell it's pronounced, and Something Wicked This Way Comes, which will probably be the next book that I read by him. I knew that I had to read this book during the October period, because I knew that if I let it slide, then I wouldn't be able to read it until next October. So I bought a copy. I'm pretty sure it was secondhand, but not that it matters. But this is about a group of boys that go on a adventure to try to find their kidnapped friends. And along the way, they have to learn the true spirit of the Halloween season and what their costumes that they are wearing at that time represents. It wasn't the most mind-blowing thing. I was expecting this to be a real, like, oh my god, it's like new favorite author, you know, that type of thing, that kind of reaction. But it was kind of like, okay, that was okay, nothing's overly great, but that was a good story. But I'm intrigued to read more from Ray Bradbury. So I rated The Halloween Tree a 4 stars out of 5. I also want to say at this point, before I forget, because I haven't written it down, that I have been making my way through several of stories from the HorrorTube anthology called Lurking in the Dark. Because I haven't written them down like the genius that I clearly am, I will have all the videos and all the thumbnails up here, and I've been reading all the stories, or I'm currently on a mission to read all the stories in that HorrorTube anthology and reviewing them separately. I'm doing this because I want to support the writers, and I want to basically talk about all the stories separately. I'm not even halfway through. It's probably going to take me until the rest of the year to finish it, which is fair enough. But I'm enjoying it so far. I really am. And I have created a whole playlist called What's Lurking in the Dark, where I have all these videos linked. So if you want to watch them, they will be in that playlist. So please feel free. It's extremely entertaining to get all through these stories and to experience them. So back to this list. Next I read was a collection which had 2 vampire stories in it. This was sent to me by a subscriber called Kathy K. She has a channel, but she doesn't have any videos, and she's not planning to. But she sent me this because she won recently a couple of my giveaways, and she felt inclined to send me it, which she didn't have to, but she did anyway. But that was a collection which had 2 stories in it, which was called Camilla and the Vampire. These are both separate stories, but they happen to be in one collection or one book. They're incredibly short. They aren't really short stories. Well, the Vampire is a short story, but they could be called short stories or novellas or whatever you want to refer to them as. But these predate Dracula. Not sure how many years, but they came first. And they are implied to be inspirations for Bram Stoker when he was writing Dracula. I have done a double bill 2-for-1 video on both these stories, so I will have it linked down below. So I would highly recommend it. They're both fun, they're both very short, so I would highly recommend them. And the last thing that I read was The Curse of Ridge House by E.D. Lewis. E.D. Lewis is a booktuber, and this is a gothic novel where a woman gets a job at Ridge House, which is a big mansion where they have all this kind of like an odd family, and there's this strange suit of armor which she's afraid of, and it sometimes moves of its own accord, or does it? And there's this curse obviously on the house, and I don't really want to say too much. It's a real slow burn. If you're into gothic stories, then I would recommend it. It's a entertaining read, and I love the characters. It's not like all blood and gore or violence and all that stuff. It's a slow burn, but it's a good story. I can't wait to read more from E.D. Lewis, and you know, he's got a story in the Lurking in the Dark anthology and some other stuff that I want to read from him. But I rated that one a 3 stars out of 5. So guys, that has been part 1 of my October 2022 wrap up. This is probably going to come out first, and then a day or 2 later I will upload part 2. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you are planning to read them. If you have read them, we can have a discussion about them down below in the comments. And yeah, with all out the way, guys, I'll see you on my next one.